one question, we need to use a alert or a console.log. Actually, there's a difference between the console.log and alert as well. Because when you're gonna use a alert function, right? So alert will give you the alert on top of browser. Okay, you would be able to see the one alert on top of browser. When you will use a console.log, okay, so console.log will print the logs on top of the console, okay, and you would be able to check out your console in a developer tool of your browser. Just you can simply press the F12 or Control Shift C. You can simply open a browser there, and that was actually a control developer tool you are able to see. And this is a console. And here, just you can simply check out the output of the console.log. If you're gonna use a alert function there, so on top of whole browser, you would get a one alert. So that was the difference between the both things. So let me open the Visual Studio, and here I'm gonna create a one file for today. So first of all, we will learn about the basics of the array and the object. Okay, so we will take a brief of the array object after the loop. But before that, just you have to understand what is actually array and the object is. So let me array and object. Okay, so this is a very versatile data type in case of JavaScript, array and the object I'm gonna write here. So now the point is what I'm gonna do. So the first of all, let me enter the boilerplate. That'd be interesting. Once I have entered the boilerplate, just I'm gonna write the script tag here. Okay, that's done. Inside the script, I can simply include the external CSS sheet as well. So I'm gonna array.js. So I will create a one external JavaScript sheet using this name. So let me create array.js. So open this file. Okay, and I have successfully linked my array.js inside the body tag. That's how you will be able to see. And now I'm gonna write inside the title case as well. We'll discuss about the array in today after that and the object as well. So let me close and let's open the array.js. Now what JavaScript I'm gonna write here, just you can simply write. So first of all, let's suppose I'm gonna create a one variable. If you want to store your multiple username, let's suppose right now there is a 42 participants having joined the JavaScript session, right? If I want to store the names of all the 42 participants, so just I can simply use multiple method. The name one, okay, I can simply mention the first name is, okay, this is the first name I am able to see. I can simply mention a name two as well. So the name two is, oops, I can simply mention Abhilash. Okay, so that's how you would be able to store multiple names in a different variable. The point is when you want to store a different name, okay, in just this is not a good method to store a same type of variable in your array. So instead of using multiple variables, just you can simply use the array. And what is actually an array? So array is a collection of similar type of data type, right? So what is actually an array? So array is a collection of a similar type of data type here. So if you will discuss about the object, inside the object you would be able to store your data as well, but inside the object you will store your data in a pair. Okay, and inside the pair you will store the key and value. So and how you would be able to define an array? So we will discuss about the array first of all. After that we will discuss about the object here. So in case of array, just you can simply define an array using the square bracket. Okay, inside a object, just you can simply define an object using the set of curly braces. That's how you would be able to define the array and the object here. Now the point, let's suppose just I have defined three names here. Okay, using the three line, inside the three line I have written three statement for that. Instead of return three statement, I can simply store three names inside a one single array. Just I can simply create a one array names, okay, and inside the name just I'm gonna use a square bracket. Okay, so inside the square bracket, how many values you want to store, just you can simply put all the values there. So let's suppose I want to store the few more names here. I'm gonna use a Gaurav. Okay, and the second name I'm gonna mention the Imad. Okay, the third one I'm gonna mention the Nitesh. Okay, so that's how I'm gonna use. So I have stored three number of names inside my names. That's cool. There's no issue. And now this is actually an array. Okay, if you want to verify, just you can also verify using that type of function. If you have remember, okay, this is the one function you can simply use to check out the data type of any variable, whatever you have defined. Okay, so instead of using, just we know very well, okay, what is actually names is. If you want to print the names, okay, just what you're gonna use here, either there's a multiple method. you can simply print this particular console.log and names. What happened? So you would be able to see your whole array on top of the console. When I'm gonna save this program, okay, let me execute the program as well. Okay, let's take a while. Go live. Okay, so that's how you would be able to see. Just a moment. Instead of JavaScript, I have to go live using this particular sheet. Okay, that's how you are able to see the array, and the object is a subject, right? So not subject, my bad, title. On top of console, just look at this. You are able to see the whole array because you have print the array using the console.log. That's why you are able to see the whole array, and you are inside the array, you are able to see 3 names what you have stored there. Now the point is, let's suppose if you want to print a specific name instead of the whole array. Okay, so the same method we will use here. That particular method, first of all, you have to understand the concept of the index. Okay, so what is actually an index? So index is nothing, that will be a unique number. Each and every element inside your array have their own unique index number. So let's suppose if you will discuss about the indexing of this array, if you are able to see the index number of Gaurav 0, index number of the Imad is 1, and the Nitesh for 2. So that's how just you can simply calculate the index number of and number of items what you have in your array. Okay, that's how you're gonna calculate. So now if you're gonna calculate the length of your array, just you can simply use a names.length as well. Okay, if you want to check out the length, just you can simply use this property, names.length. Okay, length is a property of the array what you have stored inside the names. I'm gonna save. If you are able to see, just look at this 3 here. Okay, if you want to store if you want to print another string as well, just you can simply print length of array is, okay, so just you can simply plus. That's how it's worked. Let me save again. Just look at this, the length of the array is 3 because you have stored 3 number of items. But sometime if you want to print another element as well, just I'm gonna use the same method. Let's suppose I want to print the Imad from here. Okay, just you have to use a slicing operator there. Or which slicing operator, what I'm gonna use, just you have to use names, and just you have to mention the index number of that particular element. That's how you'll be able to fetch that particular element from your array. So let me save, and now when I'm gonna save this, you are able to see you can simply fetch any name from there. Okay, that's how you can simply define an array. Okay, either you can also store a different element inside the array, guys. And now this actually array, we will perform multiple operations along with the array. Okay, you would be able to delete the object, you can simply add more object as well, you can simply replace the object as well. Okay, we will perform all these actions into the next chapters where we will discuss about the array and the object in brief. Just right now you have to understand what is actually array. So array is a collection of the items what you can simply store inside the single variable. Now if you will discuss about the object, okay, in case of object, so let me represent the object here. The point is, let's suppose if I want to store a one object, or you can simply take any example, right? Either you can simply take an example of the bank account, or you can simply take an example of the any social media platform. Let's suppose I'm gonna create a one database, okay, Instagram. This is just an example to understand. So this is a one variable I have created database.instagram, and now inside this, what I'm gonna do, so just I'm gonna create a one object, okay, inside the curly braces. And now once you have created this particular object, either you can simply define your values into a one line, or you can simply define your values in multiple lines. The point is, let's suppose inside the database Instagram, what I want to store few data about the users. Let's suppose the first data what I want to store, I'm gonna store the username. Okay, so this is a first key what I have mentioned. Just I have told you inside the object you will store the values in pair. Okay, so I'm gonna store the username, and what's the value of this particular key? You can simply store any value, so I'm gonna mention AD grand 000. So that's how it works. So this is a one element of your object, and in this element you would be able to see the first will be the key of this value, and this is the value of that particular key. Okay, so now if you want to store a second element inside the objects, you have to use a comma. You can simply store a different Let's suppose you want to store an email of that user, you can store. Okay, that's how you can simply use it. Now if you want to store few more data, let's suppose if you want to store the name of the user, you can simply store. That's how it works. So if you want, now these are the three details what I have stored in my object. An object name is a database underscore Instagram. So this is a one variable, and the type of this variable is object, because inside the object I can simply store my values in a pair, and inside the pair the first will be the key of that particular value, the second will be the value of that key. Now the point, just if you want to fetch any one of them, just you have to use a key there. Now this is a one more important thing you have to remember. In case of object, you cannot create a duplicate key inside the same object. Okay, key should be unique in your whole object. If you're gonna try to create a duplicate key inside the same object, what it will do, so it will replace the earlier value of that key. Okay, whatever you're gonna mention when you will try to create a same key inside the same object, it will replace the earlier value of that key. That's how you have to use a always unique key inside the object. Okay, and in the array, your index number will be the unique of each and every object, because that's a method how you'd be able to fetch your elements inside the object. You cannot use an index here, just you have to use a key to fetch your elements. That's how the object is work, right? Now the point is, let's suppose if you want to fetch a username, or if you want to print the whole object. So first of all, I'm gonna comment the earlier one. That's cool. So what I want to do, I want to print my whole object. Just I can simply use a console.log. I'm gonna print the whole object here. So database Instagram. That's how it's look like. That's cool. So what I'm gonna mention, just save. Okay, if you are able to see, so this is an object you are able to see. Now inside the object, the first key is username and the email and the name. Okay, and you are able to see the whole value as well. So that's how it look like on top of console. Either you can simply print on top of the browser as well, just you have to use a document.write method, right? So yeah, can we write the username as a username space between two words? No, actually, because you have to understand that define. Okay, when you are trying to define any identifier, just you have to go through the some sort of rules. Okay, what are the rules? You cannot use a space between the name. Okay, you cannot use any special character. Only you would be able to use a underscore and the $sign. Okay, that's how you have to understand the define your identifier. It look like an identifier as well, right? So now the point is, let me move forward. If I want to fetch any one of them value, just you have to use the key of that value. So let's suppose what I want to do, let's suppose I want to fetch the username. So there's a multiple method to fetch a value from the object. So the first method, let me show you the console.log. Okay, what value you want to fetch? So first of all, the object name. Okay, from the objects, just you can simply use the same square method. Okay, square bracket is used to slice your particular thing. Now the point is, what do you want to slice? Let's suppose you want to print a email address or the name. It's your choice. I want to print the name from there. Just I can simply mention the double quotes and I can simply print the name here. This is a method. Now the point, just you have to use a key name inside the square bracket instead of index number, right? In case of object. So when I'm gonna save this, just look at this. You can simply fetch your name using this method. The another one more method to do the same thing. Let's suppose just you have to use this method, guys, dot name. Okay, and both the methods work fine. There's no issue. You can simply use this particular method as well. You can also use this method. So when I'm gonna print, just look at this, or either instead of name, I can simply print the username here. Just look at this and you will get the first of all your name here. After that, you will be able to get the username. That's how it's look like. Now this is a method how you can simply print your name and how you can simply use a username. This is the first method to use a square bracket. Just you have to use a key in a string method because that was a string. If you have defined an integer there, just you can simply put the integer without a double quotes. If you want to use this method, just you don't have to type username into the double quotes. Then you can simply use a dot method. Okay, either this the same method you can also use to add the values into the object, but we will discuss those methods later when we will brief all the things in few chapters. So right now, just we have to understand there's a 3 values I have stored inside my object. Now the point is, if you want to print all the values, Or either if you want to print all the names what you have stored, let's suppose I'm gonna store 40 names inside the array, right? So let's suppose if what happen if I'm gonna copy all the names from the participants and I want to store all the name into the array and I want to say hi to all the users. So for that what I'm gonna use, just look at this. So just let me copy and paste. So I'm gonna comment all the things what I have created earlier. Okay, so now we have to understand the concept of loop from here. The first of all, just I have created a one object. If you are able to see, if I'm gonna add few more names, okay, if I'm able to see the Harsha and the one more name I'm gonna add, the 5 will be enough, comma, and the name is Indrajit. Okay, that's cool. So these are the 5 names I have stored in my object. Just look at this. Now the point is, if I want to say hi to all the users, so what method I'm gonna use? Just either you can simply use a document.write. Okay, that's your choice. Either what you can simply use here, you can also print all the name on top of console. It's your also choice. So let's suppose I'm gonna use a console method, or either I'm gonna use a document method. Okay, it's your choice. So when you're gonna use this method, you would be able to write your names on top of actual browser, right? So what I want to do, I want to print the first name first of all. Okay, inside the first name I'm going to say hi, okay, to the user, and after that I want to print a username. Just I can simply use names, and just I can simply print a one name from there. Just I'm going to use a 0 index. That's how it works. What does it mean? If you are able to see the hi Gaurav, right, there's no space between the hi and the Gaurav. Just I can mention a space as well. That's how you would be able to do that. Or either you can simply add a one more statement and you can simply print this statement hi Gaurav. That's no issue. Now the point, if I want to say hi to all users, just I need to write the same number of lines at multiple times. Okay, that's how it look like. Now the point in this case, just I'm gonna say, if you are able to see hi Gaurav at multiple times, just I have to do a little bit changes as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it works. Now the point, just you have to add a new line as well. Okay, to add a new line, I'm gonna create a one more document.write method. Okay, either you can add a new line at the behind of the names as well. That was your choice. Okay, so let's suppose I'm gonna add a new line differentially. That's cool. And now, oops. And now one more time. That's how it look like. So if you are able to, just I have said to all the users what I have written inside my array. Okay, that's how you can simplify. Now this is a one very basic method what I have used. This is a one very basic approach I have used here. To solve this particular task, or just if you want to say to hi all the users, I can simply use a loop for that. Okay, that's why the loops comes to the picture. If you want to do a same type of task at a multiple time, then you can simply use a loop there, right? So let's suppose if you want to use a loop here, so which type of loop we will discuss here. Okay, what are the types of loop we will all discuss here. So just you have to understand the concept of loop. So just you can simply say loop are the very handy if you want to run the same code over and over again, each time with a different value, often in this case when working with the arrays as well. Okay, so let's suppose there's a different type of loop you have to understand. Okay, so there's a two type of loop, for and the while. Inside the for and the while there's a multiple type. Let me show you. So these are the types. So let me come in. So the first of all, we will learn about the for loop. Okay, so just you have to understand the basic difference and the basic similarities between the loops, guys. So the first of all, we will understand the for, and after that we will discuss about the for in using the in operator. We will discuss about the for loop using the off operator. We will discuss the while and the do while as well. Okay, so just if I will discuss about the for loop, so for loops through a block of the code a number of times. Okay, how many times, just what the syntax of the for loop, I will let you know as well. Inside the for in, okay, so first of all, if I'm going to discuss about the for loop, what will be the syntax of the for loop. So this is a very straightforward syntax you can simply use in case of for loop, and now this is a syntax what I'm going to return here. So let me maximize this first of all, and just let me comment this as well. So to understand the syntax of the for loop as well, so this is a syntax if you are able to see. Just you have to use a for keyword for that. Okay, once you have defined a for keyword, just you have to use a set of parentheses. Inside the set of parentheses you have to use 3 statements. and separated by the semicolon, because you are trying to return all three statements into a one line. That's why you have to use a semicolon there. And now once you have defined this, just you have to use a body of your loop using the curly braces. Which code you want to execute multiple times, just you have to use there. And now what are these statements? Just you have to understand all three statements as well. The statement 1 is executed one time before the execution of the code block. Okay, so what does it mean? This particular statement only will execute at one time. When? Before the execution of the code block, right? The second statement will be execute, defines a condition for executing the code block. So the second statement will execute multiple time. Okay, whenever you're gonna execute your code block, after the code block, every time the second statement will execute. In third statement is executed every time after the code block has been executed, right? Once the code block will be executed successfully, it will execute the statement 3. If you want to do some increment and the decrement, so you will do inside the statement 3. Once it will increment or decrement, whatever they will do, after that it will check the condition. Okay, this is statement. If the condition is true, then it will execute the block. If the condition will be false, it will not execute the block anymore. Just it will terminate the loop on that point. That's how it works. Okay, hope you got the idea about the for loop. And in case of for in use, okay, when you will use a for in, just you will not define all three statements here. Just you can simply use a for in operator. So when you will use a in operator along with a for, so this particular loop will loops through the properties of an object. Okay, so if you will discuss about the properties in object, what is actually the properties? So these are the properties of the object: username, email, and the name. Okay, so these are the properties of this object. Okay, when you're gonna use for along with in operator, so it will loop through the properties of an object. When you will use a loop along with the off, so off loop will be executed through the values of the iterator object. So if you're gonna use a off, so when you will use a off operator along with the for, so it will iterate the values of the object. Okay, that's how it works. I'm gonna show the example as well, not to worry. When you will discuss about the while loop, so inside the while loop, actually just we have to define a one condition there. Okay, until the condition will true, your loop will execute. Once the condition will become false, your loop will be terminated. Inside the do while, just this is also a loop through the block, and the code while a specified condition is true. What does it mean? Actually, in case of while, when you will execute the while loop, each and every time your condition should be true, then your code will be executed. But in case of do while, at least your code will be executed one time. After that, it will try to check your condition. Okay, so in case of do while, your whole code will be executed one time at least. So let me take in one example to understand the for loop concept, right? So just I can simply use any one of them array what I have used here. So I'm gonna comment these lines and let's pick this particular line. Oops. So what I want to do, let's suppose you want to say hi to the users. I'm gonna use this line to print my loop, or either you can also use another method for that as well. So what does it mean? Let's suppose I want to create a one loop using the for keyword. Okay, that's how you'll be able to use. And now when you're gonna use a for keyword, just you can simply define the all three statement, right? Inside the three statement, what I'm gonna define, I will define my body or the body of the loop inside this statement. What body I want to execute at multiple times. Let's suppose I want to print a one statement on top of console.log, or either document.write. It's your choice. Okay, let's suppose what I want to do, let's suppose I want to print the numbers what I'm gonna use here. Okay, we will discuss about the arrays a little bit later. So let's suppose I want to print hi. Okay, the school and the space and the plus as well. I will use a particular variable what I'm gonna use inside this. Okay, so just I'm gonna discuss this later. First of all, I have to define the three expressions separated by the semicolon. That's how you're gonna define. Okay, so inside the first statement, just you have to initialize the value of the variable. Which variable you're gonna use here? You can use any variable, num or the I or the j. So oftentimes you will be able to see the I here. Just you can simply use any variable. So I have mentioned, I have initialized a one variable, the num, and the value of the num will be the 0. In the second statement, just I have to initialize a one condition. The num should be less than 10 or less than 5, whatever you want to mention here. Okay. This is a condition I have defined. It should be less than, not equivalent. Now the third statement, let's suppose you want to do the one increment. Just you can simply use a num plus plus, plus plus num, or num minus minus, or minus minus num. Okay, that's, you know, the difference between the, if you're gonna use a plus before the num, or if you're gonna use a plus after the num. Okay, that's how it works. Now what I have done, just I want to define the value of the num as well. That's how you're gonna use. So the point, I want to add one break more as well. I want to break each and after the line. Okay, that's cool. Now this is a loop what I have used here. When I'm gonna execute my program, you would be able to see the output on top of console, guys. And now how your loop will be executed, just look at this. And what does it mean? Okay, just if you are able to see the high 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's how it works. Now the point, it will start printing the value from the 0, because just I have told you the statement 1 is executed one time before the execution of the code. Now, what does it mean? Initially the value of the num will 0. Okay, now the second statement what will be execute, so it will check the condition here. Num should be less than 5. Once the num is less than 5, the condition is true, then it will execute this statement. Once this particular statement has been executed, it will print the high 0. After this statement, the statement third will be executed, and it will give a 1 increment inside the num. That's how it works. Now once it will give the 1 increment, again the condition will check, and again the same type of loop you will execute here. Once I will become 5, it will derive the condition, and your loop will be terminated. So let's suppose if you want to print the names, okay, from here, just you can simply use a indexing method for that. Instead of 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, just what I'm gonna use, I will mention, just I'm gonna comment this particular line. I'm gonna mention the names. Okay, inside the names, just I'm gonna mention them. That's how it's look like. Okay, just I'm gonna say, if you are able to see just what I have used, just I'm gonna use the indexing method, right? On place of num, it will give you the first of all 0 and then 1 and so on, right? That's how you'd be able to fetch the values from the names according to the sequence of index. And you can simply fetch all the elements. That's how you can simply create a small program using the loops instead of writing your whole programs again and again. That's how the benefit of using the loops, right? Now let's suppose if you're gonna use a num equal to 5. Okay, what does it mean? So now this time when you will execute this thing, so what it will give you, it will give you the undefined. What does it mean? Because only you have a 4 indexing inside the loop. Why I'm telling the 4? Because the element is equivalent to the 5, but the index you have 4. You can simply calculate the 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then 4. Because if you're going to try to fetch the 5 index, so it will give you the undefined. That's how it works, right? So instead of using 5 and 4, just you can also use a 1 statement that will be look like better. What statement you want to use here? Just you can simply use the condition should be num should be less than names.length. Okay, that's how you can simply use. Because if you're gonna calculate the length of names, what you will get? So you will get a 1 number, right? In output, what number you will get? 5. So that's, you can simply use this method. And now if you're gonna change the values of the names, just you don't have to change the value of the loops. It's working fine. There's a no issue. That's how, this is a one modular approach you can follow to create your programs. Instead of using static numbers, just you can simply use the variables there, because the value of the variables will be changed according to your array, how many values you have stored. Because right now, if what I'm going to do, just if I'm going to change the element, what happen, I'm going to use only 2 elements. So this time only your loop will be executed 2 times. Okay, now it will not give you the undefined. What happen if I'm going to use the earlier statement? Just look at this comment and say it will give you the undefined 3 times. That's how always you have to try to follow the modular approach instead of using static numbers. Okay, so this is the one method to understand the concept of for loop. Hope you got the idea, guys, because I have prepared one assignment for you as well related to loops and all these things. I will give the assignment at the end of the session, right? Just you have to complete the whole assignment. I have given the 10 questions into the assignment. So the next thing what I'm going to discuss here, so we have to understand the for in as well, right? Inside the for in one, you will discuss about the for in, just the for in operator actually iterate through the properties of your, if you will discuss about the array, so you would be able to fetch your elements without using this type of method. Okay, if you will discuss about the object, so in case of object, you can simply fetch your properties from there. That's how you can simply use there. But sometimes you can simply use the one more method, guys. What the method? Instead of define your variable here, you can also initialize your variable at the before the loop. This particular method is also work. Okay, there's no issue inside this method. Just only you can simply use this. Okay, that's working fine. There's no error. Sometimes you have to understand, because sometimes if an interviewer will ask you the question, if you will not initialize the value of the variable in for loop, you can also define before that particular thing. So this is both the methods are true. You can simply use any one of them. So I'm gonna go repeat, just let comments and let's move forward. Now let's understand the concept of for in, right? We have to understand the concept of for in. In case of for in, how you would be able to use along with for in? So the method to use for along with in, just let's suppose I'm gonna use the same type of object first of all. Okay, comment and let's put the same object. Okay, that's cool. Remove the spaces. Now the point is, let's suppose I have a names. Okay, I have few names inside the names. What I want to do, I want to print all the names. I don't want to use the indexing method there. Just you can simply use the method for, okay, and here just you can simply use any variable. Just I have told you num or whatever you want to fetch. Either you can simply use a name as well. Name in names. What does it mean? So it will fetch the name from the names. Okay, so first of all, when your loop will execute, so using the in operator, just you will be able to fetch the first index will be initialized inside the name variable. Once the iterate has been finished, the first iterate, so it will execute second iteration. It will give you the imad from here. Imad will be initialized inside the name, and so on until your loop will, until your sequence will not be finished. But that's how the in operator will work along with the for. Instead of name, you can use any variable. Either you can simply use I as well. Okay, that's how it works. Let's suppose if you want to print, just you can simply print the same method. I'm gonna use the copy and paste. Okay, I don't want to write again and again the same piece of code. Just that's cool. And what I want to do, just I need to do few changes here. And the changes only the instead of num, what I'm gonna mention the I. That's how it looks like. So what does it mean? I'm trying to use a for loop I in names. Okay, inside the I, your first name will be initialized at first time. After that, your second name and the third name and so on. Okay, if you are able to see, just look at this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, what happened here? So when you are using a in operator, right? So if you're trying to think just the Gaurav have been initialized, but the point is when you're gonna print your whole names, so it will give you the index of that particular element instead of thing. Either this you can also use, because if you're gonna check it out, the property here, just I have told you, it will go through the properties of an object. Okay, if you want to actually, if you want to print an array as well, let me show you. In case of array, these have the properties as well. So let's suppose, let me copy and paste to check out and verify to you. So just look at this. In case of data, oops, or names. If I want to print the names here, okay, just look at this. So inside the names, yep, you have stored all the values, but behind the scene, they have attached with your index number 0 on top of Gaurav. On one index, you have stored Imad and the blah, blah, blah. So when you will use a in operator along with the array, so it will give you the index number of those elements. So what you need to do, just you have to use the same method, but here just you didn't define any condition just before that. So that's why sometimes instead of using this method, you can also prefer the in method along with it. Only what you need to do, just you have to use the same method what I have used earlier. And now that's look fine. It will give you the names. In case of object, okay, so what it will give you, so let me copy the object what I have created earlier. I'll not create this again and again. Copy and the paste. So this time I'm going to use an object here. Okay, and the object name you are able to understand, database Instagram. What I need to do, let's suppose I'm going to mention instead of names, or either I'm going to comment, I'm going to create another thing here. Oops. That's cool. Just comment all the section. this is the object what I'm going to use this time. Inside the object, I need to use a for loop the same way. Okay, let's suppose you can mention any variable. Either you can also mention the name as well. I'm going to mention the key here. From where? Database Instagram. What I want to print? I want to print the same thing what I have printed earlier. And I'm going to change the key here. And that's how it look like. Instead of names, I have to mention the key. Okay, that's how. Either if you want to remove this thing, just you can do this thing. It's your choice. I'm gonna save. Look like it will give you the username, email, and the name. Just to have told you, it will give you the properties of the object. Okay, and what are the properties? Because the properties are username, email, and the name. Because just to have told you, in case of array, there's a one inbuilt property of the array that will be the length. So that's how you can also use the properties of the object as well. Okay, so these are the actually object oriented what we are trying to do, right? So we will discuss about the object in brief as well. Okay, not to worry. So the point is, let's suppose if I want to fetch the values, just instead of in place of in, just what do you have to use? Just you can simply mention in place of in, you can simply mention the of. Okay, what does it mean? So that will become loop 4 along with the of operator. It will give you the, oops, my bad. Okay, so let me try to check key of database Instagram, and now it should be give you the values. But what happens? So for loop key of database Instagram, blah blah blah, is not iterable. Oh, my bad. This is not iterable actually. So what I need to do is just I'm gonna mention this particular method, database or Instagram, to fetch the values first of all. Okay, I'll let you know as well how you'll be able to use the of operator as well, not to worry. And now this is a method. What does it mean? You would be able to fetch the values of your object as well. Now just I have told you, in case of actually just you have to use a iterable object. Okay, through block the specify, where's the, yep, this is a for of. Inside the for of, just you need to use a loop through the values of an iterable object. Now just you have to understand what is actually iterable is. So let's suppose in case of Instagram, just what I'm gonna mention the same names again. I'm gonna uncomment. That's cool. I will use the same name again and again. And here what I'm gonna mention, I will mention the names here. Okay, instead of in, I'm gonna mention the of as well. Instead of this particular method, I'm gonna mention the key as well. Just save and you are able to understand. Now there's no need to use the indexing method. Directly it will give you the iterator values of the whole array. That's how you're gonna use a of operator along with the arrays and the objects. Because array is an iterable object, when you're gonna call along with the of operator, it will always give you the next value from the array instead of the properties. So that's how the of operators work, guys. And now let me take in a few questions, few of them. After that, we will understand the concept of the while loop. Okay, if you have a few questions, just let me know into the chat box. After that, we will move forward. Backward slash n is used for new line. Yeah, if you're gonna use a backward slash n, just you can simply try to use, because this is an HTML, right? In case of HTML, you have to use a BR tag for that. The backward slash n, if you're gonna use, let's suppose if you want to use instead of backward slash n, so what I'm gonna, let's suppose what it will do for you, because this is not a syntax of the HTML. This is an escape sequence what I have used here. So when you're gonna use a backward slash n, your whole name will give you in a single line. Okay, it will not work. That's why I have used a BR tag, because I am trying to print my elements on top of here. That's how it look like. But what happened? What I'm trying to print my elements on top of console as well. Okay, console.log. I'm gonna mention the key here. Just look at this. So it will give you the all element into the next line. There's no need to the backward slash, and that's how it look like. Okay. Can a key have more than one values? Yep, the key have more than one values as well. If you want to store this, we can simply store a different array here. What does it mean? So instead of adgram, if you have a multiple username or the email address or whatever name you have, I can simply use this method. Okay, what does it mean? So I'm going to define my different name as well. That's how it look like. So I have stored two names inside the names. Either you can simply define an anonymous function as well. Okay, that will be the concept of the object-oriented language. So we will discuss these concepts later in advanced. Okay, in next sessions, not to worry. If you're gonna use this method, that's working fine. There's no issue. Okay, if you want to fetch one of them, just you can print the value console.log. What do you want to fetch? Database.instagram name. Okay, just save this. Okay, if you are able to see Sachin Sani and the AD grant, that's how it look like. So because sometime, let's suppose if you are using an old concept of the, not an old concept, the earlier concept of the loop. So the point is, if you are using this concept, so you can also initialize multiple variables just using the comma. X equal to 10 and the y is equal to 20. If you want to use all of them, just you can simply initialize. So this is a valid method. You can initialize multiple variable. Also, you can check multiple condition. On this is no need to check only one condition. If you want to multiple, you can simply define an AND operator. Okay, I think this is the syntax of the AND operator. I think I'm forget the double AND, the or AND, whatever you want to use. So you can also check the multiple condition as well, right? You can also define the multiple variable. That's how you can do. This is the normal method you can simply use inside the for. You can also store the input from the user. Okay, there's a multiple method, right? Let's suppose take an example I'm going to show you, and we will take this type of example later as well. We will understand how you'd be able to manipulate your elements, STL element using the JavaScript. Because let's suppose if you want to take an input from a user and you want to store that particular into an array, just you can simply use a names.push, right? Inside the push, just you can simply use a prompt, and inside the prompt, just you can simply enter a name. Okay, that's how it look like. Okay, so whatever you're gonna give here, so you would be able to store that particular prompt inside the array. So that's how you can simply use. And now you can also store, you can also take in multiple input from a user using the loop. Instead of using prompt, if you want to take an input multiple name from a user, just you're gonna use the HTML form method, right? Input method, just you have to enter your name here. When you click on submit, your names will be stored inside the array behind the scene. Just you'll be able to do all these things, okay, in some few advanced classes. Just you have to wait for that. But you can also use this method to store your values inside the array from a user input. Okay, how? So one, we will discuss about the while loop. Just I have told you there's a two type of while loop. First of all, we'll discuss about the while. After that, we will discuss about the do while. Okay, so one, you were trying to understand the concept of the while. This is a very pretty forward syntax of the while. Let's suppose if I'm going to initialize the values here, what values I'm going to initialize. You can simply use any variable, right? 10, that's cool. There's no issue. I'm going to use while, okay, while the value of the num should be 10. Okay, so that's how, oops, I forget the set of parentheses. So that's how you're going to use while num should be less than 10 or 20, the condition while that's true. And now this is the one condition I have defined. So first of all, using a while keyword, text expression, and the body of while. Until the text expression is true, each and every time once it will execute your body, again and again it will check your text expression. Until the expression is true, loop will execute. Once the expression will become false, your loop will terminate. So what I'm going to do here, just I'm going to mention, let's suppose if you want to print the value of the num on top of console.log, you can simply mention and the num here. That's how there's no issue. When I'm going to execute my program, you are able to understand. So just what I'm going to use, if you want to give a one increment into the num, so each and every time it will increment the num by one value, and once the condition will false, it will terminate. Okay, that's how it will work. So let me open the Firefox one more time, and I'm going to execute the same concept again. Just you would be able to see on top of console. Open. Click on console, delete the values, and execute your loop again. My bad. Actually, I have to click on top of array and object. That's cool. Open the array and open the console again. And you will get the idea. That's the first value 10, 11, 20, and until the 19. Because on top of 21, if you try to check the condition should be less than 20, the num should be less than 20. But once the value of the num is 20, so your condition will false. It will not print the value 20 here. That's why at the 19, your loop will be stopped. That's how you're going to use a while loop, right? If you will not use any increment, so it will hang up your browser because it will print your numbers at infinite time. Your JavaScript code will be executed infinite. Okay, that's why. So the point is, this is the one very basic, pretty simple concept of the while. Okay, the another concept of the while, there is a one more thing. Let's suppose if the condition is false, what I'm gonna use, if the num is greater than 20, what does it mean? So it will not print the value at least one time. Okay, because the condition is false, the num is not greater than 20, that's why you would not be able to print the values. But in case of do while concept, actually this is a pretty forward concept of the do while as well. So in case of do while, actually first of all you have to define the body of loop. Okay, the body of the loop is pretty forward, console.cloud. Okay, what do you want to print? Let's suppose you want to print the value of num. That's cool. And once you have defined the body of loop, after that you have to define the condition. The condition should be num should be greater than 20. Okay, that's cool, there's no issue. Now the point is, I'm gonna comment on the older one. So the condition is still false, right? The condition is still not true, but at least you would be able to execute your loop at one time. Let's look at this. It will print the 10, and now it will check the condition. The condition is false, it will not print the value. That's how it looks like. So let's suppose if I'm gonna mention the increment as well. Okay, if I'm gonna choose the condition as well here, that's cool. Now it will print the value same, 10 to 19. That's how the basic difference between the while and the do while. In case of do while, your loop at least exactly execute once time until the condition is false as well. Okay, but in case of while, only the loop will execute if the condition is true. That's the basic pretty difference between the while and the do.